God help us, it doesn't take much sometimes to bring us to our knees, almost. And people don't change that much from century to century. Take the case of Biddy Early, for example. She cured thousands, in fact. That's why she's remembered so vividly today, 146 years after her death. She died on 23rd of April 1874. And she was the most famous healing woman of her day, and did heal, there's no doubt whatsoever about it. But who did she heal? Why did she heal? She healed animals, she healed people, but people came to her for other reasons also. And sometimes she gave people a choice. And it's that choice that sometimes today we see that in those choices we see that people are always people. It was up to yourself. And sometimes she left it up to yourself. And often, well, let me give you an example. There was this man, he had a horse. And the horse was doing everything for him that maybe a man with a machine, as they call it, was doing today. The horse was making his living for him. He would do a little bit of ploughing and carting, and the man had one child, and his wife died. Tragedy, of course. He wasn't a rich man, and he got married again. And you know, the story is always about mothers-in-law, oh, they're cruel witches, and this woman wasn't. She cared very much for the little orphan, I suppose you could say. They got on very well together, the young child and this new wife, this new mother. But the horse got sick, and if the horse died, well, what were they going to do? They were poor enough as it was. They'd be poverty-stricken entirely if the horse died. So the man, he went to Biddy Early to find out what could be done. There was very few vets that time, and a poor man couldn't afford a vet anyway. So he went to Biddy. What could he do? And Biddy listened to him. And she said, it was like this. Tonight, at midnight, your child will sneeze 3 times. And she said, your own choice now, she said. If you want the horse to live, say nothing. If you want the child to live, say God bless us on the 3rd sneeze. And of course the father, that was something to be thinking about. And he went home and he said it to his wife, the child's stepmother, and they had their supper. And of course the two were thinking about this as they sat by the fire afterwards. And his wife said to him, I don't care, she said, it isn't right to let a human being go for an animal, no matter what that animal is worth. But he said, look, we can't do without the horse. They were poor people, they were as poor as Job's cat. And I don't care, I don't care, I don't care. She said, we can't do that. Anyway, they went to bed. The child was put to bed, and at midnight the child sneezed once. No response. The child sneezed secondly. No response. You can imagine the tension now. And the child sneezed the 3rd time. And the stepmother said, God bless us. And the father said, why did you say it? And the stepmother, said, if his mother was here, she'd say it. She a great woman. Wasn't she a mighty woman, and she only a stepmother? They went out in the morning anyway, and there was the horse and the four hooves above in the air, dead. The child was fine, and the child got up as good as ever and went to school, only baby infants. But ever afterwards they prospered, built up and did well. But if they had done the opposite and left the child go and the horse to live, they'd have been at each other's throats. You can imagine it would have been a misery of a marriage, and that house wouldn't have been bearable. She made the right choice. Great woman. But notice how Biddy left it to himself, left the choice to himself. Tough thing to do. But Biddy didn't always give you your answers. No, she sometimes left it to yourself.